Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids, and in today's video I'm going to be giving you a guide to Maximoz the Weeping Blade. He's the poison boss from the Grim Forest, and I think he's actually probably the most difficult of these four wandering bosses. In fact, I think he's probably more difficult than the final boss as well, to be completely honest. But yeah, I'm going to try to break down how to beat him in this video, and I've got a number of different strategies that you can use from the very easiest. This is not the easiest one. I'll tell you the easiest one in a second. But yeah, we'll be breaking it down. This footage is, by the way, from the test server, so it is from like the end-ish of the Grim Forest run, which means that I'm going to have far higher stats than you would. And I think it's something that's worth noting as well, is that this boss, I think he's going to be really hard for new players in particular. Kind of reminds me of Bommel, right? Why is Bommel so difficult? The dread bombs that Bommel summons in do 50% of your max health, and it does 50% of my max health as someone who's been playing for 5 years, I think, at this point, and has mythical champions and everything. It does 50% of your health if you are a 2-week player who has none of these good champions. And the difference between the two is that my champions can take those hits and rapidly heal back up or mitigate the damage or avoid it entirely, whereas you probably don't have those options. I think it's probably going to be something similar with Maximoz and his poisons. But let's go in, let's break it down. Let's talk about what to do. I guess the first thing, you can see it up here in the top left corner. He is Spirit Affinity, by the way. So Force Affinity, not the best against him. Magic Affinity is extremely, extremely good. Spirit Affinity and Void are totally fine. Nothing special happening there. I'll pause this right here, but as you can see, we've beaten him. Here's a better team, and I'll explain why. But if we jump into him, what is going on? Well, let's look at his active skills first. So he starts off with Exude Death, is what he's always going to be doing first, where he's going to attack your entire team and increase the cooldown of your skills by 1 turn. And he'll put a poison on each enemy, and then he will place more poisons equal to the number of skills that are currently on cooldown. So if you've used a couple of your skills because you've taken turns before him, if he puts all of your skills onto cooldown, right, he can increase them all. If he puts them all onto a little bit of a cooldown, he could be placing, 3 poisons pretty darn easily with this skill. It also will remove all debuffs from him and give him Poison Cloud. We'll come back to that in a second. But what we need to know, first turn, he's going to do an AoE attack. That's going to put out possibly multiple poisons. His second attack is a double hitter. First hit is Weaken and Poison Sensitivity. And then the second hit is 3 more poisons. So you could potentially have 6 poisons now. And then his A1 will increase all of these debuffs by a turn and then activate 1 poison as well. So if he's able to cycle through that, he could pretty quickly blanket your entire team in 10 poisons if you're not prepared to handle it well. So we've got loads of poison damage coming in. Now that combines with this passive here, Forever Weeping, where poison debuffs do double damage. So instead of 5% max HP, it's going to do 10% of your maximum HP. So he's going to start wearing you down very quickly. Like if he gets 3 and 3 right here and here, 6 poisons, that's 60% of your maximum HP every turn. So needless to say, we want to make sure that he doesn't do that, right? That's incredibly important. Incredibly important. Now, he also does a few other things which are really, really rough. Whenever he is attacked by an enemy who's under poison, it will decrease the cooldowns of the ally. So yeah, if you attack him while you have poison, you will decrease the cooldowns of his skills by 1 turn. It will also activate all poisons on you whenever you attack him as well, once per skill. So it will just blow those up just for hitting the guy. Really nasty. And yeah, he will also do some other nasty stuff here as well. This one in particular is quite nasty too, where whenever he's attacked, it decreases all your buffs by 1 turn, and if you weak hit, it decreases them by 2 turns instead, and he gets a little bit of turn meter when he receives a weak hit. To come back to this, this is the easy part to deal with, actually, so we can touch on this first. When he does his Exude Death move, he removes all debuffs, and he gives himself Poison Cloud for 2 turns. Now, what does this do? It's the same buff from Hydra with one major difference. Poison Cloud will turn all hits into weak hits. Now, if you get HP burn on them, it will disable the effect of Poison Cloud. It's great. It's as if the Poison Cloud isn't there while the boss is under HP burn. That is a pretty good strategy for Hydra. It's not the best against Maximoz. The reason is that he removes all debuffs, so you can't place HP burn ahead of time. You have to place it after the Poison Cloud goes up. And one of the issues you would run into is, I actually brought very few HP burn champ. But actually, here's a perfect example. We actually ran Ninja in the run. Ninja can place burn, but he has to place it. He can place it on each hit. Here's the problem. If the Poison Cloud is turning your hits into weak hits, you can't land the burn, right? You can't do it. One option that you could use as well, it is a blessing that you've probably forgotten about because it's not used very much. And wait, what the heck's going on? I don't know. Weird. It is neutralized. It's an epic blessing, so you could put it on even epic characters, but you have a chance to place debuffs even on weak hits when attacking enemies under Poison Cloud. That's right. Sort of used maybe almost never against Hydra. Now there is another place where you can sort of almost probably never use it in the Grim Forest as well. I mean, it does give you an option. The chances are pretty darn rubbish. It's okay at 5-star, pretty decent at 6-star. This could be good for HP burn champions like Ninja who do rely on actually hitting. This would give you a chance to place it even though you have weak hit with the attack, and then the burn goes on and that disables the Poison Cloud. So do consider it as an option, but don't consider it to be your main option. I think Mordecai is an epic option. It's one example of a champion who's placing burn, but it's not a hit. So this is really nifty. That will place the burn past the Poison Cloud and effectively disable the Poison Cloud. By the way, this burn stuff is the harder way to do it, but I just want to point it out as an option. Another really nifty example would be Drexthar Blood Twin, who's going to place burns with his passive, and he's got a pretty high chance to place them. Again, one slight issue you will run into is that the boss is going to remove the debuffs after his attack, I think. So it won't work that well, but it will place the burn, a good chance to place it on subsequent hits. That can be a reasonably consistent way to keep up burn. Most of the time, it will help you somewhat. Now, if we rewind to the start of the fight, one thing you will notice with the team I'm running here, and in fact, then the team I ran here as well, is no burn whatsoever. So how the heck am I dealing with the Poison Cloud? Well, it's very simple. There's an easier way to deal with it, much easier way, which is going to be much more helpful for pretty much all the other encounters in the Cursed Forest as well, which is simply buff removal. Removing his buffs, you can remove the Poison Cloud. In Hydra, it's a protected buff. It can't be removed, but not so here. So yeah, I can come in with whatever. Madame Ceres, lots of different champions I can come in, and I can potentially remove that. In fact, what happens right there, that's a funny one. I have a relic on Lydia. Hang on, let me bring that up. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's this Orb of Transfixion relic. By the way, they've added new champions to the test server, and I did like a whole part covering loads of champions that are relevant to this fight, and then I realized I'm showing portraits of these new champions, which would be breaking the embargo or whatever, and I was like, ah! So, yeah, whoops. So yeah, the Orb of Transfixion, this can actually steal. It can steal the Poison Cloud. So there you go. You could use that relic to get past it as well, but really, any champion who can remove buffs is going to do the job. Let's get back to it here, and let me show you another example. Okay, never mind. I actually realized I killed him in just the one rotation, so we didn't get to see it a second time. But I mean, let's go into our example over here in game. And this is going to be, by the way, an easier way to deal with them, but it has some fairly intensive build requirements. So actually, pop this in. But yeah, we could use any buff removal to get rid of it, and that makes it much easier. So we're going to use Gergo here. It might take us a sec to get around to it, but it should be fine. This would be a lot easier if my Gallius was a different speed. It doesn't matter. Yeah, we'll smack him with this. Great. And you could probably see the really good strategy flashing up in green, by the way. But here we go. We can simply use remove buff, and it's gone. Ta-da! Amazing. And just like that, it's gone, and life is easy, and we are happy. Fantastic. Now, of course, I'm leaving it on auto, and I've got a bunch of champions with extra turns, so this stuff's not going to work all that well. But yeah, as you can see here in the background before you, the easiest way to deal with all the shenanigans that the boss is doing, it is intensive to build, but it's very, very simply build high resistance. I am using the increased resistance buff. from, in this case, Androck. You'd want, it's difficult to get this, folks, but you want increased resistance. A champion who can place decrease accuracy could also help you a lot as well. And what you would be looking to do through this is, we'll just let him die, I suppose, because I'm not running it on auto now. It might fall apart a little bit. We'll find out. Yeah, okay, he doesn't have his move. Marius could also remove this with his A2. Does he have it? Does he have it? He does. Well, he just killed him with it. That's fine. That's fine too. Couple of things you can do to help you with this. Again, I'm level 24, so I've got lots of extra stats. But any cards with resistance on them are generally just very, very high value. And you can also look for any curios. I think this one decreases enemy accuracy. That can help you as well. And you're looking for champions that increase resistance or decrease accuracy can help as well. But because he removes the decrease accuracy on his A3, it's not quite as good. Whereas increase resistance, he can't remove your buffs if you resist his effects. And this is why it's so strong, right? What happens if you have increased resistance? Well, suddenly you won't get any poisons. So you don't need to worry about reducing his skill cooldowns because you're going to resist all the poisons. So you don't need to worry. And he's not going to be activating any because you won't get any. He's not going to be able to decrease your buff duration because you're going to resist this passive. Great. You're not going to get the poisons. You're not going to get your skills put on cooldown. You're not going to get weaken, poison sensitivity, or poisons. You can't activate them. You can't increase the duration of your debuffs. You're going to resist it anyway, but you don't have any debuffs in the first place for him to place it. So high resistance completely neuters this boss. Now, what I did in this other video is we don't have high resistance. So you're going to see in this one, when we are hitting the boss, we could be reducing his cooldowns potentially, or you can see there with Carnage, my buffs are disappearing. So the other way that you can deal with this boss, and it also works, but it does make him more difficult, and again, I think that's part of the big challenge here for this guy, for most players, is you're going to want to bring possibly multiple champions with block debuffs, and you're going to want to try to apply that block debuffs right before he does his A3 to block those poisons. And it's extremely important to place block debuffs before his A2. That is the timing. What you could also do is you can mix in a champion here like Ancora, Pytheon, whatever, Elva. There's even epic options as well, of course, that can remove debuffs. And then you can time it to remove your debuffs after this happens. So let's say, okay, I'm going to use block debuffs to stop his A3. Cool. That will block those poisons. But then, because I'm hitting him, my buffs are going to fall off. I simply can't build enough resistance, Nub. No problem. What you're going to do then is, remove that. Then have your debuff remover champion come in after the A2 if you can't block those debuffs. And you're going to remove those poisons ASAP. Very important that you do it quickly, because if you hit him, you're going to start activating the poisons, which will hurt, and it could get pretty nasty. It's easiest to bring multiple copies, as you can see here, multiple copies of block buff champions, multiple copies potentially of buff removal, debuff removal. It's going to make life a lot easier, to be honest. And it's also a very, very good idea to try to build some decent resistance. It doesn't hit all that hard. It's a really good idea to build good resistance on your block debuff champions and your debuff removal champions so that they don't get their skill cooldowns increased, because that's the worst thing. You're going, okay, nope, I've got a couple of good, I've got whatever, Skytouch Shaman, whatever. I've got some good block debuff champions ready to go. I go in, I'm ready to time my move at the right time. Uh-oh, their skill cooldowns got increased because I don't have enough resistance, and now I can't remove the poisons or stop them, and now I'm dead. So really do try to avoid that. Again, you want to time your decrease defense and weaken until after you've removed the poison cloud, then fire off your big damage and nuke him down. And that's basically that. That is, roughly speaking, the strategy. So he is a challenging boss. You're going to need like a high resistance team. That is not easy to build if you're a newer player, for sure, but it is by far the easiest option. The easiest way to deal with his poison cloud is simply to use buff removal, though you can use HP burn. It's just more difficult, for sure, to use it, whereas buff removal is kind of essential for many of the waves and bosses in the Grim Forest. It's such high value, so yeah, bringing some buff removal in there will really help. block debuff champions, healers to help you heal back up if you do get a bit hurt. That can really help as well. Revivers in case somebody does die. High resistance, again, key on those support champions. And yeah, that's basically what you're looking at. But you get the vibe, right? This is a boss. If you go in and you don't have those correct pieces to counter him, you will get run over. I highly encourage you, if you're struggling, just wait to fight this guy until later on when you've built up some of these stats and you've got some curios. That will make your life so much easier against him. Like, it really will make a huge difference. Like, if you can get loads of resist, then you're good. Unfortunately, I don't know because Plarium doesn't tell us. For whatever reason, they just won't tell us what the stats of the bosses are. So we have to data mine them when they're live in game, and I don't have that information yet. But once you can find out, you'll find it on the hellhades.com, the raid stages tool. When we have that info and it's up there, you can check that, and it will basically tell you how much accuracy the boss has, and therefore how much resistance you would need to build. It's going to be pretty high, though. So yeah, you're kind of looking for these sorts of things. So hopefully that is a helpful overview to this guy. He also has your typical boss passes, which I haven't gone through here. But yeah, there's also like a nice little explainer here in game as well, which does break some stuff down, which is pretty cool. Immutable stacks. I don't even know what immutable is, to be honest. What is immutable? I don't know. I don't know. That's a new one to me. Is that a new thing? Wow. I'm an idiot, I guess. Oh, yeah. I can see the teams being wiped out here. Cool. Cool. So here, he has lower HP and defense, so kill him quickly. I guess that's one final thing to note is obviously if you are an end game player watching this, you can literally just murder this boss like instantly. Remove his block, remove his poison cloud, and just nuke him before he even takes a second turn. Like, that is, if you are end game, if you're a whale or a kraken, that is absolutely a viable strategy open to you. But in which case, why are you watching this video, right? It should be a piece of piss. What are you talking about? I don't know. But there we go. There are also other... I will be covering these other bosses myself in short video guides as well, but there are other content creators. I'm doing this as part of... I can't remember what it's called, but Plarium is putting together a playlist of one different content creator covering one boss each. So there's 7 bosses, 7 different CCs involved, breaking down each of the bosses. I encourage you to check them out. They're all great guys, and yeah, you might find it interesting and a bit of a break from me. So make sure to check out the other CC videos in the playlist as well. But that is my thoughts on Maximoz. As I said, I think he's pretty tough, but if you go in prepared, you can take him down. If you go in unprepared, you're going to have a really, really bad time against him. There we go. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.